Welcome to another episode of MAFS. It's kind of a later episode of episode 9. As y'all know, I was out last week, so I didn't get to cover the episode. But a lot of y'all let me know that Ikechi was wilding on the episode. And I also saw it on like the socials, and I finally got a chance to watch the episode. And I was like, you know what? Since MAFS is off for the next 2 weeks, might as well fill up one of the weeks with the episodes. So it's late, but it's here. And you guys might hear that I sound a little different. I'm a little under the weather. I did go to Nigeria for my cousin's wedding, and it was fantastic. And it was great to see my family. But as always, I don't know if anyone else has this phenomenon. Every time I travel, every time I come back, I get sick. It's the most frustrating thing because it doesn't matter where it is, how long it is. Usually it knows when I'm coming back and when I'm back, and then I get sick. But this time it happened before I came. So the flight was miserable. But I'm here, I'm standing, and I hope you guys can hear me okay. So I'm just going to go through the episode. Let me see. Is there any housekeeping to share? No housekeeping. There's not going to be a new episode because, Christmas, New Year, going to give myself yet another break and then fully back when the episodes are back January 7th. But Patreon, working on Ultimatum. Not sure or decided what's that's going to happen, but I might do a recap of the reunion of Ultimatum. I don't see a lot of people talking about it. Let me know if you watched it. Um, I'm still behind on it, and although this season is kind of different and kind of crazy, but look out for it. There might be a recap episode on that. Okay, so diving straight into the episode, I'm just gonna go couple by couple, deviating from the usual norm. So starting with Carla and Juan, these two are not flatlined, but they're just the battery is low on these two. They're chugging along, but it's like Carla looks like she doesn't want to be there. Juan looks like he wants to be there, but he's the one who doesn't seem to have any interest in being here. But we see a little camera time of Juan saying that he does just an easy breezy 30 miles on his bike while Carla likes to sleep in during the weekend. So they do have a conversation where she shares how her family was surfaced when it came to communication, and that's where her lack of communication came from. And the same thing where she talks about of affection, and it's funny how they say the things that you want as an adult is what you lacked as a child. She went to therapy to better herself. So that's why she wants affection from Juan. So it was kind of cool and kind of nice to know that she had that self awareness about herself and she was sharing that with Juan. And I don't know, it could be the editing, but it looked like it was like a blank stare. One was like, I hear you. And then he's like, I'm listening, I'm hearing you, but I just haven't gotten there yet. But don't take it personal. I'm working towards it. How do you not take it personal? Like, and if she's asking for affection, I guess I don't know what kind of affection she's looking for because you would hug a friend, you would hold their hand, you would, I don't know, what else is, I just, start somewhere. What is with these people coming and just going to ground zero? And it's almost like if you're not repulsed by her, how hard is it to maybe even if you go through the motions, maybe it'll become natural to you. But he absolutely does not want to do that, I guess. But Carlos says if it's important to him, he will make the effort. Dr. Pia does overtime this week and visits each of the couples, and some of the couples get to be in the house and some of the couples get to be outside the house. Carla and Juan get to be in a coffee shop with Dr. Pia. And she mentions that Juan has not met Carla's parents and wonders how Juan feels about that. And he says that he's fine, like he's going at her pace, it's okay. Carla says that she wants to be sure about the person that she's bringing to her parents, and I'm like, wait, I thought the whole parents thing was because of TV. Not the whole like it's a respect thing and he wants to make sure it has substance. But I guess, I mean, you can meet the parents and it doesn't have to be on camera. But yeah, I don't think this two are gonna make it. If you're not gonna meet the parents, these people put so much rules, which leads to so much pressure. Oh, I need to make sure it's substance. Oh, I need to even if it doesn't work out, it's okay. You're not disrespecting your parents. This is just, this is the stage in my life. This is the person that I got married to. And if you know that these are the things that are important to your parents, don't do this experiment. It's the same thing as if you have a boyfriend and at the moment you may think that they have substance and you introduce them to them and it doesn't work out. It doesn't mean that you disrespected your parents. But again, if you're not 100% into this experiment, then you are already doing yourself a disservice. So, yeah, if he doesn't feel attracted, doesn't want to give affection, and she doesn't want to meet him to meet the parents and all that, I think they're just, on autopilot at this point. So, this might be the first time Juan flat out says that the physical attraction is not there because Dr. Pia pushed and asked for that. And Carla just says that she wants to be seen and heard and she wants him to make plans. And I think Jen called it the last episode that she was on that none of these men are making plans. They're just, oh, I like you. Oh, you're an attractive person. But then they're not doing anything else. But I don't know. Isn't that a representation of the dating world right now? Everyone's just being lazy and not wanting to put effort. But from my opinion, not much on Carla and Juan because really there's not much to show about them. And that was pretty much all the things that I observed for them. MM and Ikechi, wow, that was heavy this episode. But at first she meets with her friends Tiffany and Chrissy, and I think Chrissy was the one that was at the housewarming. So she's updating the friend Tiffany on what happened and how he called her aggressive. MM lets us know that she has tried to have conversations with him and she's telling her friends also, and he would say like, oh, it's too late, I don't want to have conversations. I would say like listener Tara, hi Tara, brought up a good point. Like for those, there are some people who think that Rafiu MM's cousin was being too hard on him, but it's a case where she lost her dad and he's stepping in and he's making sure that Ikechi gets it right, just like her dad would have, especially since he sees through Ikechi's BS. So I don't, I'm in the camp like on I don't think he's being hard on him at all because Ikechi isn't acting like when you meet someone's parents, like you don't get the right to be defensive yet. You are trying to get into their good graces, just as she would be trying to get into his family and friends' good graces. So I don't know what he thinks this is. MM says that he is not proceeding as if they are together, but he's proceeding as if he wants to see if they will be together. And I think that's a very accurate description of what this is, which is the opposite of again what you should do here, which is going all in. And she says that she doesn't know how to proceed without being called aggressive. So she says the other day we get like a selfie cam thing where she says they went to a restaurant, they went out to dinner, and then she asked, what did he do to prepare for marriage? And he started to raise his voice at the answer to the point where people were looking at them. And she was like, okay, we gotta go. Now, an after party, Ikechi was there. I can't believe this man keeps coming, but kudos to him because I think he just wants this other side of the story. And he says what happened was that she asked the question, but it was more about the question about wanting to see his ex. I hope I'm not confusing that. And he said he wasn't raising his voice at all. And before he could say anything, she was like, let's go. I know perspective is everything, and I know that he thinks that he wasn't raising his voice, but we've all seen Ikechi respond to things. We've seen how he talks. Yes, he could call it passionate, but I could see how that can be seen as raising his voice, especially when you're in a public place. Because even with the conversation with Dr. Pia, to me, he was raising his voice. So again, perception is everything. So to him, he wasn't raising his voice, but I can see how MM would think that he was raising his voice because he gets all stern and defensive and, quite frankly, aggressive. I'm going to call him aggressive as many times as I can because this guy is ridiculous. And the fact that he still keeps using this is kind of crazy. So MM meets with Dr. Pia, which is when I realized that honestly we're at the 1 hour 10 minute mark and we have not seen a peep of EKG. But can I just say that MM's outfit was chef's kiss? It was so lovely. I think it was like a skirt and top, but like it was black and white. But honestly, I don't know how to describe it, but it was great. So he shows up and she says, okay, I hear you're going through something. I can help a bit. And he's like, perhaps. And he's come in with his stank attitude as usual. And like I said, to me, he starts raising his voice where he's like, oh, she's asking all these questions and I'm not able to enjoy her without questions. And Dr. Pierre is the right person to get for this job because when this man child says, I have no idea, what it is that she wants to know, and I'm here to be fixed. Dr. Pierre is like, listen, I know you don't think you need fixing, and all these passive aggressive comments are not going to help. So can we put that to the side and keep this going? And he's like, yes, ma'am, because he's from the South. Um, she asked, what are the questions that, like, I guess are bothering him this much? And he says he promised he wouldn't say anything, that with the shared, anything that she shared vulnerability wise, that's MM. And then Dr. Pia asks MM, like, is there anything you don't want him to talk about that he shouldn't say? And she's like, no, not really. That she gives her consent for him to say anything. And then he goes, this is about sex. Like, basically, she asked me if I want her sexually. He said no. And I'm like, why did they choose to have this conversation in a coffee shop in public, like just all out there? Because there were some people in the background. And he says again that he feels like she is aggressive because she keeps pushing for things that he's not ready for. And he feels like a piece of meat. I appreciate MM being quiet this entire time because that would just be another chance for him to call her aggressive. But he's basically implying that she keeps trying to make advances and he already told her that he's not interested and she keeps trying to see if she could get something started. MM didn't exactly like deny it per se. She said like, okay, so he said like she tried, he put his hand up and was like, no, I don't want to because I don't know you. So in various, different variations, he kept saying she's aggressive, that this is the aggression I'm talking about. And I'm like, this man is really complaining that his wife wants to touch him. And then he says again, I'm from the South. I'm not used to someone trying to have sex with me, sir. From the South, from the North, from the West, not a lot of men are going to be complaining when someone is trying to have sex with them, talk less of your wife trying to have sex with you. So I don't know what his complaint is. The main thing is that he's not interested in her. I've been saying that he's not attracted to her. He keeps saying that he is attracted to her. He said in an after party that he is attracted to her, but I don't know that I'm believing the words coming out of her mouth. Now let me say this. I was ready to come in here to be all like, oh, Ikechi this, Ikechi that, and yet still Ikechi this, Ikechi that. But I do think that a little spin, I had a little slight, very little change of mind when I watched After Party when he was explaining his side. Now, Dr. Pierre was very delicate about this because, yes, everybody should be able to give consent. Nothing should be done that nobody wants to do. But he kept saying that he kept telling her no, and then she still wanted to push for it, and that's what he meant by her being aggressive. I don't know if I completely believe that because, as Keisha pointed out, you should have just said, well, it's not any better. They're sexually aggressive, but I meant like aggressive when I mean sexually. Maybe at the time, because of the friends and family, he didn't want to not embarrass her or just say anything, that she may not have wanted to hear because he gave her a word that he wasn't going to say anything in that regard towards her. So maybe that's what it was. But I just stay away from the word and just be. I think this season, a lot of them don't know how to use their words. So we're just dancing around, saying things the wrong way and using the wrong words, and it's just coming out and being received um the wrong way. So, but I mean, on the flip side of it, it's like he keeps saying he doesn't know her, but if you want to know her, it could be through the questions. But when she does the questions and the affection, you get mad. And yes, at the time I was watching it, and I quote, I said, fuck this guy. But like I said, an after party, he did give some kind of point, and it's because of their difference in personality. He's just saying that he wants to know who she is as she is organically, not necessarily through questions like, hey, let's go to this art show, which I guess when he said, I want to know your, what did he say? Your creative side or whatever he told her. I want to know who your art or who you are, whatever he said. But I think maybe in her point, we don't have a lot of time. So I'm just asking you questions. And it's like, let's just be. So I think it's also like a little fair if we're going to meet in the middle of both of their communication styles, where it's like, okay, you know how sometimes, like, what was it, Becca, and I remember who her partner was last season, when they were like all concerned about the sex, and it was like, take that off the table. So let's take off the questions off the table for like maybe a day or whatever. Let's do an activity. But this is where he fails. Have you planned an activity where you want to get to know her? Like, have you said, hey, I have a concert that I'm going to, or hell, that you're performing at, so you can promote yourself, and then take her to it and see how she reacts? Because in the absence of you planning anything or an activity for her to do, the only thing left for her to do is to ask questions because you want to be home. So I'm so confused. So that's where they could meet in the middle, but I think they're just two incompatible people. And for him to go from wanting to have sex with her on the honeymoon, because he was the one making jokes. And I think, as MM pointed out, at the honeymoon, she had her hand on his lap, and then he put it, I quote, on his nether regions. She said, I didn't do that. He did that. So, of course, she's going to think that that's where you're leading to. And you're making jokes when you're talking about, oh, our skin touch, there was chemistry, there was this or whatever. How is she supposed to know that things change? So, the truth of the matter is that something changed. You were turned off. You don't want to anymore because she was matching your energy. And then now you're saying that you don't want to anymore, but you didn't communicate that and you expect her to read your mind. So that's where it's not fair. Also, when he's saying, like, okay, she's too much for him and the personalities are different, fair. I mean, I'm gonna be honest and say, like, in the beginning, when we are saying, like, MM was like, oh, a lot of energy. And I think I may have even said, like, oh, it could have been anyone. She would have just been happy, which he kind of alludes to. And ugh, I hate myself for the fact that I'm even in the same line as Ikechi's line of thinking, because I think he made mention to, like, it could have been anyone and you would just make it work. And she goes, no, it's about you. But also, we'll never know. Whoever it was going to be, but it is you that you was choosing as her husband, and she's trying to make that work with you. So all these complaints are basically like what Michelle is doing, what Madison is doing. You're not interested anymore, and you're just nitpicking at each and everything. So at the end of the day, don't get me wrong, Ikechi is wrong because he's trying to present like, no, he's doing all the right things. But I don't know how, in any scenario in this experiment, your wife trying to ask questions and get to know you is a bad thing, and he's trying to make it as a bad thing. So now, in terms of the consent thing, I mean, did apologize. She was like, if you felt violated, I do not want to make you feel that way. Like, then she corrected herself and said, like, you said so, I made you uncomfortable, I wasn't trying to make you uncomfortable, and I'm sorry for that, and that's noted and stuff like that. So I'm hoping he didn't twist it. If he was really uncomfortable, I'm glad that that was addressed and let everybody be comfortable, because everybody deserves that. But in some way, it's kind of like, when did the switch up happen and how was she supposed to know? And I do hear her apology, especially since he felt violated. But I'm not going to lie, guys, it made me sad because in some way, it sounded like she was apologizing for who she was because of the way he kept saying, oh, I'm from the South, oh, I'm from this, I'm from whatever. So I don't know. I don't know what this guy's doing, but I hope he doesn't beat the spirit out of MM. I don't mean like physically beat. I just mean like she's just gonna not know what to do, and she's just gonna like lose the light that she had when we started the season. But we find out that they haven't talked since Dr. Pia, because he makes an appearance at her job and she was giving someone some Botox shots, and They make these promises where they say they're going to do better, but I think that is going to be a hope and a prayer at this point. So I don't know. It's just sad. I was really like rooting for them, and it's just sad. And have you guys noticed that the couples are not interacting that much? I think after last season, they're scarred and they don't want any plans to be done. I mean, they're still hanging out because they do mention that an after party, but they're not showing us them hanging out all the time because we don't at this point, I can't tell you who and who is close, who and who is together, who and who, talks more than the other. Like in previous seasons, we know who the close ones are and who that is, but not this season, not so much. So all right, moving on to David and Michelle. David said he's getting his eyebrows done because it's something Michelle enjoys, and he's looking forward to asking yet another person for advice. So as soon as they come in, David's like, "Oh, I'm a hugger." I don't trust people who say that, but he's in his lovely pink polo shirt. Like the man loves pink, and the man does re-wear his clothes, which I'm sure is a ding in Michelle's eyes for that. So the brow lady is Michelle's friends. They've been friends since they were 12 or 13. And yay, Michelle got it right this time with this friend. Because if you guys recall, the last friend, she didn't know how long they'd, they'd been friends. They were former co-workers. So the friend was asking how it's going. They said it's been back and forth. The friend says she and her husband were back and forth too. David asks what he should know about her, and she starts with, "Oh, you probably already know this, but she's always positive." And David laughs, and Michelle goes, "Ooh." At the same time I did, because I was like, "Who? Which Michelle? Who said that?" So she also says that Michelle is a breath of fresh air. I'm like, I don't know. The girl is like a room that needs to be aired out right now. I don't know about fresh air. So at this point, though, as they were talking, I told y'all how obsessed I am with brows. And I was here trying to figure out what technique is this. I don't see the thread. I don't see the waxing. Is she just using the blade? But I think when she started doing David's, I saw that she did have a thread, but I think it was probably white or something. So it was lost. It looked like it was invisible, but she was threading the eyebrows. But David's eyebrows did look good. So I appreciated it. So, but I will say, like, he's right. Like, she was comfortable. This was the most that we saw Michelle, like, laugh and, be happy. But again, this relationship is dead. They just need to Gina and Clint this shit to the end. Or just maybe she can leave because, yeah, the more she's on, the more she looks like she's in pain and she's causing us pain too. So, David takes Michelle to his bowling club, and as soon as she comes in, his friends are like, "I'm a hugger too." I'm like, hmm. So they start asking, what are the things that you have a problem with? What's the issue? She starts mentioning things that she didn't find attractive. And the friend jokes, "Oh, ha ha ha, was it the man bun?" And I was like, you know what? That's true. We haven't even considered if that might be a thing for her because she's never mentioned that the man bun was a problem. And then she starts listing the things she's having a hard time with. She's like, "Oh, the things that I'm having a hard time with, the physical, the living situation, the lifestyle difference." I was like, hold up. Is that the first time that she's mentioning physical? Because that is the first time for me that I'm hearing her actually say that the physical is an issue. But maybe we've just been glossing over it. But let me know if it was the first time for you too. But she's actually said it out loud because that's my guess. It's like from the physical to next portraying a picture that this man is a guy living in bumfuck nowhere and absolutely has no money and absolutely knows nothing. So Michelle is a piece of work, I gotta tell you. So, anyways, I'm like, there goes the real Michelle. Because, through the episode, I'd been like, "Oh, who is this Michelle? She's been actually pleasant." But she basically like dogs him out. And in true Michelle fashion, starts throwing in that he cusses a lot. Her mom talked about it. How can she take him to, like, if she has like work functions, that the CEO, the tech people, and all that? Ugh, that was not cool. That was not cool at all. And even David the Saint is upset and is visibly upset, but I'm pretty sure Michelle will not notice. And he does tell us in the confessional that he does feel like a punching bag and it's actually not cool and he's not okay with that. So then the friends say that they're very surprised that she's not head over heels for David because he's such a great guy. And then they ask her what is important to her. And then I noticed that her answer has switched to David's answers. She's now like, oh, happiness, something, being family oriented. I'm like, ma'am, that is not what is important to you. It's lifestyle, lifestyle, lifestyle. That's all we've heard, lifestyle and finances. So they have a one-on-one with no, she has a one-on-one with Dr. Pia, and I'm like, Dr. Pia is putting in work. Is she getting paid more than Pastor Cal and Dr. Pepper because she's solo on this? But I guess that's the disadvantage of being in the hometown and being more available. As a sidebar, as I was watching that, I saw an ad for 600-pound diaries with Dr. Now. I'm like, is that moving to Lifetime? Like, are they leaving TLC? I didn't know anything about that. I don't know if anybody watches that, but I used to be obsessed with that show, but I found that interesting. So, anyways, finally, the thing I've been looking for ages and ages, which is not them, Michelle in particular, watching clips of herself of what she asked for is happening right now. And of course, like the 38-year-old brat that she is like, ugh, I don't like where this is going. I'm going to get annoyed. I'm going to do this. And then to the point where they had to kick David out so that Dr. Pia could say, why are you getting annoyed? And she's like, oh, is this the part where I get called out? She's like, I'm not calling you out. I just want you to hear what it is that you asked for because all the things she asked for is exactly what David is. So if you don't recognize the things that you wanted and you're not appreciating it, then maybe you need to check yourself. So she's like, what is the thing? And Dr. Pia calls her and is like, you're not saying exactly what it is. And I can't help you because I don't know what the thing is because everything describes David to a T. And then she's like, well, I'm not going to be able to tell you what it is. I don't know how to say it. How are you even? I'm even annoyed that you're this age and you don't know how to express yourself. But again, that's the running theme with a lot of the cast members this season. They're not articulate at all. So I don't know. You can't just sit there saying I'm getting annoyed. Oh, I can't explain it. Oh, I'm being called. Get over yourself, Michelle. And please, producers, just let her go. Like it's enough. Anyways, Madison and Alan. Madison is disappointed after he didn't show up for the flag football that they had. And they have a conversation about it, and yet another miscommunication. He left, she left. He thought that she left. She went to the restroom, came back, and thought that he left. They both didn't realize that phones work and you could text each other where you were, but that just shows how much. Well, on Alan's side, it's more like wanting to be petty, I guess, or just wanting to be I'm not going to put in the effort this time. And in Madison's mind, I think she's still operating solo. She's still operating like a single person. Alan did say like, oh, that it was some kind of retaliation. And I'm like, you're allowed to be petty, but keep that in your mind. Like, you don't need to say that. And Madison is still on the whole, I'm being transparent and I'm struggling and all that. And I get it, but what is he supposed to do with that? Like you're giving yourself kudos because you're being honest and you're saying something, but there's just really nothing that he can do again at this point because if you don't like him, if you don't want him, your transparency and your struggle does not help him in any way. So I don't know. I don't know what they're supposed to do. But the good news is they make up before the episode and they go see Dr. Pia at the coffee place and they talk about the intimacy and she says how she's still struggling to get to the romantic side. And Dr. Pia says, what is it that you need, Madison? And the minute Madison says, you need to give me more compliments, I'm like, huh? Who? And then I was like, I give you compliments. And she's like, yeah, not like, not about my looks. Like, I don't want you to say you look nice. I want you to say you look beautiful. He's like, oh, okay. I'm like, that's so confusing. Like, now we're just nitpicking. And she's like, say my dress. Like, it's like you're complimenting your grandma. Like, you have to be specific. I don't want it to be my looks. Or I'm like, oh gosh. This season. And Ellen is like, well, I don't know. I don't know where the boundaries are. So I don't want to say anything that will make you uncomfortable. She's like, yeah, you should know. And she's like, okay, I should also tell you. But she acknowledges an after party and is like, I was being snarky and I should have just been nicer about the way that I deliver it. But I will say their game was fun. It was fun watching them play that game. But I wonder when it is that she had a sexual thought about Alan. I still think it's probably had to be the wedding. She said that in after party, but I don't know. It would be interesting to know if it was any time outside the wedding that she had that. All right. Our final couple was Camille and Thomas. Camille and Thomas are talking about the flag football because Thomas is hurting. He done strained his quad and a hammy, and she's trying to stretch him out. Not Camille being turned on by Thomas, pushing her down so he could get a touchdown. I don't know what this girl is looking for. She's looking for a rough rider to be her husband, but she was very impressed by that, and I'm like, okay, Camille, let's not veer into into changing Thomas from his little. We're still inching him up into the R&B guy that you wanted, but he's reminding her that he's in the 40 plus club, and he was she was stretching him out and all that good stuff. So it was cute to see that. They just need a good old foam roller and a Theragun. He brings up the conversation with her sister that he never thought about it that way, but he helped him understand where she was coming from. She reiterates that it's not a deal breaker, and they tell each other that they like each other. And I'm like, yay, these two better make it to the end, especially since it seems like we're done with the whole cultural differences and we can now proceed. So Camille comes home to a romantic scene. Like Thomas has rose petals, he has candles, a massage table, oil, and all that, and champagne. So she says that she's never had this done before for her. I'm like, well, I mean, because you're too busy looking for people who are high on the swaggometer and tackling you down to get a touchdown. So he starts giving her a massage. Camille's veins were popping. Thomas is kissing her body. Lifetime gives us the R&B jams. And she says, I need to make sure that we're connected sexually. And he says, I'm there, but, I just want to make sure that you're ready. Camille says, well, maybe it's time to stop playing around and see what that's about. And Tom is like I said, I'm ready. And then they go into the bedroom and I'm like, bow chicka wow wow. So they get a home visit. Dr. Pia comes in and then she's asking about it. And she's like, yeah, we consummated our marriage. And Dr. Pia is so happy for them and they cheers to that. And then she's asking Camille what her boundaries are. And she's like, right now, I can't think of anything. And Thomas is like, tell me more about this no boundaries. But it's funny, an after party, Keisha asked him, do you have boundaries? He said, absolutely. I have boundaries. I'm only playing quarterback. I'm not playing no tight end. I'm not playing no running back. That was a little funny. But they talk about the L word and Thomas gets emotional. He said he hasn't had it a lot in his life, so he's afraid of it. So he doesn't take it lightly. So I guess this is something they're going to drag, and then maybe on decision day he'll finally say I love you. I don't know if Camille is going to be, like previous wives where it's like, oh, I want you to say I love you so before decision day so I know it's real and things like that. So Thomas says he feels very lucky to be here, that he hasn't been a good partner in the past and didn't think that he deserves another chance. So just to be here, he's very lucky. While they were chatting, I saw a picture of his dad. And Thomas was so right when he said that he had no reason to even question anything or think that he was adopted. He does look like his dad. Like him and his dad, I guess, and his brother, because he's a twin, identical twin, they all look alike. So I would be like him too. I would not question anything at all. I do think, I hope Thomas has dealt with a lot because the more that it comes on and just to see how emotional he got about this, I really hope he's dealt with the things that he's had to deal with. Like it's just been unfortunate how he is. So he's been a trooper to be able to, move past this. And I hope his brother is a sounding board because whatever he's been through his brother has been through too, so I hope they're able to lean on each other for something like this, and I hope it doesn't affect the relationship because sometimes when things happen you never really truly get over it. You just kind of learn to work through it and make sure it doesn't affect like the quality of life that you have. So, and what I thought was the funniest thing this episode, Camille took this man to a jewelry store and she's really serious about turning him into an R&B singer and the cover of an album, ready for a cover of an album because she got him to try some jewelry. He tried some like chain, and she's like, he's definitely looking better. He's definitely looking good. His ears are pierced already, so he just didn't have any earrings in there. So they tried some jewelry, found some. She even paid for it, and she's like, yep, definitely like how he looks with it on. And I'm like, you know what? Whatever works, whatever gets the juices flowing, go ahead, do your thing, girl. If he doesn't mind, it's great. Like, go on with your bad self. I'm so desperate for one couple to at least work, and all my hopes and dreams are on Camille and Thomas that I need them to work. In fact, I know they're gonna work. Like, oh gosh, please don't break my. No, there's no way they're gonna work. But yeah. So that was basically it for this episode. I think that's. I don't have hope for any of the couples because we are about to hit the 1 month anniversary, which is halfway through, and I don't know how we turn things around. I was thinking how this new gen season people don't get it. Back in the, old, I don't know why I'm calling them old gen and new gen season. But back in the older seasons, like couples would like hate each other, but they'll still bang it out. Like Monet and Vaughn, Vanessa and Trey, even like as recent as Lindsay and Mark the Shark. Like, I mean, I don't think she could stand his guts, but they still banged it out. Like these people are just playing around. I don't know you. I don't want to do this. And I get it. I think the difference now is people are afraid to hook up with someone because they already know that they don't want to be with this person, that they don't want it to come off like, oh, I just used you for your body, but all along I knew that I wasn't going to be with you. So it is a tricky situation, but you're already married. If you already think the person is, a genuine, not a genuine person, but the person has all the qualities that you're looking for, it's an experiment. Like you might as well explore all the different corners of it all with consent, of course, and then see where it goes. But everyone is being overly cautious, and there's just no need for them to be cautious at this point because you already married a stranger. All right, so who do I give my bouquet to? I give my bouquet to Camille and Thomas because they made me happy. They're fully immersed in this experiment. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're working through the differences, not using the differences as reasons to pull away from each other. And honestly, they got to consummate their marriage and they probably are going to be the only people this season. So good for them. I wish them all the happiness. And I also want to give it, tis the season. So I'm going to give it to each and every person. I kid. But I want to give it to Carla. I do think it was very vulnerable and just very self-aware for her to share like the things that she lacked in her family. She's never really talked about the things that were not negative, but the opposite. She talks about how much she loves her family, how they're the best, how they're great, but no family is perfect and everybody has the things that, they could improve on. And she shared that with Juan. And I don't know if I was really a fan of Juan's answer on this. Um, and then for for keeping quiet the entire time Ikechi was going on and on and on to Dr. Pia because she could have interrupted, she could have done anything, but she let him have his peace. And I appreciate that she did that because that was just the best approach for that. For Ashes, I feel like it's been a rotation between Ikechi and Michelle, but they keep doing things that deserve that. So I'm going to give it to Juan. I wasn't a fan of his reaction when Carla shared her point of view and I thought was being very vulnerable. But again, it could have been editing because on the flip side, I do see how like, he cooked for her, he listens to her. So maybe that's being unfair, but it's because I don't want to give TKG and Michelle again because that is just par for course at this point. So well, guys, that's my little spiel on episode 9. We'll be back for episode 10 when MAFS returns. the week of January 7th. I do want to take the time to wish you guys happy holidays. Thank you guys for rocking with us all through this year and for rocking with me since the new season started and I've been going about this solo. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you guys share the holidays with your loved ones. Hope you have some well-deserved break for anyone who needs a break from work like I do. But have a good time, eat, drink, be merry, and I will talk to you guys on the next episode. Don't forget to share your thoughts on social media on Autocall MAFS. That's the handle for Instagram, Twitter, and Blue Sky. Please give me a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It helps with the podcast. Bye, guys. Happy holidays.